welcome to my vlog. Just to give you a brief information, I've been working here in Maldives for almost 2 years now. Somehow I can confidently share some important information that you should know before applying here in Maldives. So that will cover different aspects such as salary, other benefits, locations wise, things that the hotel or resorts might offer you, which will be included in your package, and other important stuff that I think it's very important for you to consider before applying here. So first, let's talk about salary. So salary depends on the band. On the band means if you are entry level, if you are supervisory level, managerial level, head of the department, so the salary is based on that. And of course, that's obvious. Other resorts, companies from all over the world also applies on that. So here in Maldives, I can say that the basic salary for an entry level position is around, let's say, $400 to $500. Yes. If you think that it's small, yes, it is small. But our salary here also comprises of different additional income, such as first is the service charge. So service charge is the additional payment of any tourist or guest who's here in Maldives on top of the price item, whether it is service, whether it is a food. So there's a certain taxes on that, and the service charge includes on that as well. So as you can see, Maldives is one of the best tourist destination, and with the pristine beaches, different resorts, different islands here in Maldives, you can really determine, or you can really confidently tell that their service and their stuffs are quite, let's say, expensive. Yes, because that includes the taxes and the service charge already. So first is the service charge. The service charge depends on the resort, on the hotel. If it's luxury, if it's like a regular resorts, if it's international brand, so that depends as well. I can say that during the low season, let's say around after Easter, which is around May to September, October, that's the low season here. I can say that the service charge will vary around minimum $300, let's say. So in high season, that will reach like around $1,000 plus. So if you are in entry level, you have $540 basic salary, just for sample, that's an average. And then you have, let's say during low season, you have $300 to $400 service charge, so that will be around $900 already. And then during the high season, it will be $1,000, so you will have like $1,500 during that peak months as well. And during the low months, actually those entry level are also subject to an additional income, which is after service charge. Is next is tips. Tips comprises of bill tips, personalized tips, and a lot more. So if you're in frontliners, like you are working as a waiter, as a waitress, island host, butlers, guest service agent, so you are somehow eligible to that. And also on top of that, tips is the cash tips, which is the direct cash that the guest is giving to you. So you have a lot of source of income, and also it depends on the season as well. If it's high season, of course you will get more. So let's say you have $500 basic salary, you have $400, let's say, service charge, and then you will have a minimum of, let's say, $200 to $300 tips for during a low season. Then how much is it, right? So other than that as well, after the service charge, after the tips, there's also another source of income, and that depends on the position, like what I mentioned. Mostly this one is for the frontliners and of course for the sales. So that another source of income is incentives. So some of the resort also implement different incentive options. If ever you upsell rooms, if ever you upsell some experiences which cost like $1,000 plus, something like that, then you're eligible for incentives. Incentives also varies. So some of the resort might put a certain percentage, some might put a specific amount already. So you have already 3 sources of income other than your salary. So let's put salary on the 4th. So salary, you have service charge, you have tips, you have incentives. Of course, considering these 4 in varieties of position. It depends on the position. So don't expect, like for example, if you are working at the back of the house, then don't expect you will get also the personalized tips. No, because you are not a frontliner. Mostly frontliners like front office and food and beverage have those benefits, other benefits. But then if you're working at the back of the house, most probably your basic salary will be higher. But then you are also having the service charge on top of your basic salary. So the service charge is for all. So that includes people who are working at the back of the house and the front of the house. Okay, so now we're done with the salary. Living condition. So the living condition here, of course, this is an island. So what would you expect? So we have a limited option in terms of, us being productive for the day. But then it also depends on the space of the resort. Some of the resorts have their own staff island, wherein there's also places for gym, for a staff restaurant, for a futsal ground. Futsal ground is the smaller version of their football ground, and there's also a volleyball court, and of course a staff beach. That's given. But some of the resorts have limited space, so might be they can only offer 1 or 2 of those, but it differs in the property. And in terms of rooms, as you can see, if you are interested in how my room looks like, you can just scroll in my Expat vlogs. So I made a room tour vlog about my room. So the room types here is, it's either you are in solo room, you are in twin sharing, or like in a bunk bed, or like what we call cabin. That depends in your position, in your salary band. So I can somehow confidently tell you guys that if the accommodation is within the island, is still a better option, even though if it's bunk bed or even if it's like cabin type, because if the accommodation is within the island, then you can save a lot of time. So like for example, my accommodation is within the island, so I can just, if my shift is at 9 a.m, I can just simply wake up at 8 a.m. For me, that really saved my time, and I can be more efficient in terms of managing it. But basically, the accommodation will be part of the benefits already. Next is the meals. Of course, they're staying in the island, then of course the meals are already included. There's staff cafeteria wherein the breakfast, lunch, and dinner are all included, even during your off. So it's just a walking distance from your accommodation, And some of the resorts also are offering staff restaurant wherein you can somehow purchase your own food. For us, in our case, we have our we call it beach club, wherein they're open during dinner. So if we don't like the food in cafeteria, then we can just go there and have dinner. Of course, we need to pay, but it is not that expensive compared to the restaurant where guest goes. And also, if you wanted to go to restaurants, guest restaurants, then you are free to do it. There will be some certain percentage of discounts for staffs. So, but that depends on the property. So, in terms of the supplies, like for example, personal toiletries or whatever it is that you need, there's usually a tuck shop, what we call tuck shop. It is like a small convenience store where all stuffs are there. And yeah, mostly all of the items are there. And also, if the item's not there, then you can just request to add it in their list. And also another option is there are a lot of stores in Male, the capital city, wherein if you order online, they can deliver it in the speedboat, and then your resort speedboat, and then you can just share the address, and then they will deliver it there. And then once the supply boat is scheduled on that date or arrive in your island, then you can just gather your stuff. So that's another option. So in terms of online stuff that you want to buy, mostly they're using Shein or Shein. I don't know how to pronounce it, but yeah, mostly of the items, as you can see, whatever here in my room are from Shein. Of course, it's quite cheaper than the rest. Now, let's talk about leave. So I've been working in Qatar for 6 years, and the benefits there in Qatar, in Middle East, basically is 21 days annual leave, 11 days public holiday, and of course, sick leave, stuff like that, things like that. But all in all, annually, you will have like 30 to 31 days paid leave. But here in Maldives, you have 30 days annual leave, 10 days public holiday. So you have 40 days to consume throughout the year. And I can say that I am more flexible here in Maldives when it comes to vacation compared to when I was in Qatar, because I can still clearly remember that I think I usually just go home yearly or like every after 2 years, because the first ticket is very expensive there and it's too far. But here, as long as you have enough leave to to use during your vacation, you can divide it in throughout the year. If you wanted to go on vacation for 20 days on June, and then 20 days on October, you're free to do so. But mostly they're doing it during low season. They're not allowing stuff to go during the high season, especially if you're in the operations team. But yeah, basically there's a lot of flexible options for you guys. In my case, I usually plan at least 2 times to go in Philippines or to travel, because of course I love traveling, as you can see in my vlog. So, work-life balance. And considering that we are working in the island, yes, it is somehow challenging to detach, because basically you are staying in your workplace. So it's a challenge for us to to detach ourselves even after work. So it's very important if you guys work here to at least manage your year, that you can allow yourself to go out of the island, or else you'll get crazy. Kidding. Then I think, yeah, that covers mostly the information about working here in Maldives. So I think it's quite a few information, but I think that's somehow will help you guys to have an idea on what you will expect here, on what you will expect working here in Maldives. Anyhow, I'm successful. I was able to redo it again. So see you on my next vlog. If you have questions, you can just comment down below. And just a disclaimer, in terms of the salary and the benefits, like what I always mention, it will always based on the property. It will always based on the position that you're applying to. So thank you for watching my vlog. If you want more informative vlog in Maldives, then just let me know. Bye bye.